Sorry. Shout out to everybody today. This is eBlack with eBlack TV. I'm talking about fake woke people. If you know anything about our series with fake woke people, this is a staple of my channel where I call out people for their so-called enlightened perspectives. Today is Dennis Spurling's day. Now, recently, if you didn't catch Dennis Spurling's recent statement on his Facebook and his social media, he stated that Kevin Samuels had hope for the black community. I don't. Neither the demographics nor the culture dictate it will remain intact over the next 40 years. It will dissipate. He then further went down the rabbit hole and says, I do not support the black community. The black community is run by black feminists and it's destroyed. I'm not pro-black. I support black men in general living free and prosperous and enjoying their lives. I think that's fake woke. I really think that's fake woke. And we're going to cover this. This is not emotional. This is truly about the facts. We're going to break down his statements because it was such a statement that he decided to delete the statements. Imagine that. Imagine making a statement that you are in support of and you're deleting the statements. So he didn't realize that I actually kept the receipts. And I've been planning this show and I was going to do a pre-recorded show, but I was like, nah. We can do this live. So what I'm going to do is this. We're going to pull out the facts. We're going to figure out everything. Shout out to everybody. Shout out to the Black Pride members. You know, if you haven't already, please check out our my membership. It's a cheap membership, like $3. I'm working on it. I'm a small streamer. I don't want to overcharge y'all for stuff that doesn't make sense, but being a Black Pride member definitely gets you at least your video or your comments to be shown when I do edit. So anyway, shout out to the Green Vegan. But anyway, we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about his statements. We're going to bring up facts and statistics that state that the black community will not be going anywhere. Not only that, it doesn't mean that you actually support the black community. Not only that, this statement is really contradictory to your lifestyle and the life that you've lived. So let's get into it. Shout out. Oh gosh. Yeah, I agree. It was a very contradicting statement that he contradicted himself. And we're going to point out with facts and statistics. Now, I've actually had this conversation on different platforms. I have talked to different people in regards to how this is kind of got to his ideology. Come to find out that Dennis Spurling is SYSBM. That means save yourself, black men. These are a group of men who believe that you can go to foreign countries and find you a wife that doesn't, let's just say you can go to a foreign country and find you a wife. The women here are just non-cooperative and all that blase. The fact of the matter is that the statements that he's making doesn't necessarily represent the statements that he's presenting. I actually think this is all cap. I think this is a money grab. I really think that black misandry, or the fact that black men hate the fact that they're being treated the way they are, he's making statements to further elongate his career. So let's go to the first thing. They do it all for the views, man. They do it all for the views. Like on eBlack TV, I don't care how many subscribers I got. Me and a black woman are forever going to be working together. Whether I want to improve our situations, yes. I want black men to improve, black women to improve. We all got room to improve. But we're gonna get real deep into this. We're gonna get real deep into this because I realized that this statement is based in such aberrant behavior. Now, aberrant means self-destructive behavior. This statement is based in so much fuckery, right? I want you to understand. His ideology is that due to the fact that men are now leveling up and they are leaving the country and they are getting mixed children. And the fact that after 40 years, 2 generations, there will no longer be a black community. He is saying that black men will then get with a Becky, get with a Maricela, get with any other race, and after 2 generations, they will no longer be recognizable to the fact that there will no longer be a black community. This right here is the most wildest statement I've ever heard. And I realized that I've heard this statement before. I've heard this statement being said in, the Buffalo shooter. It's called the Great Replacement. It's the fact that white people believe that through race mixing and through legislation and through just culture, that their race will sooner or later fade away. This is what he's pandering. Like I said before, black people, we don't need to worry about white folks. We got black people spitting white supremacist ideologies right in our face. How in the hell will you... I just want you to understand that even if your child is mixed, it's still a black child. It's still considered a black child. Now, hold on one second, please, guys. I'm sorry, y'all. But like I said, this is the most aberrant thing I've ever heard. Like I said, it's the idea that after 2 generations, mind you, he said in 40 years, over 40 million black people will disappear. We will assimilate every black man will assimilate into white culture, assimilate into Latino culture, assimilate into other different cultures, and we'll just disappear. This is the fakest woke shit I've ever heard of in my life. Statistically, it's impossible. Statistically, interracial marriages are only at, 70%? And I'll get more concise on that. But let's just say 70 to 80% of black people want black women. Black men want black women. Not only that, when you add into the fact that he says that younger people no longer care about race. Younger people no longer care. They don't see their own kind in their own community. They don't even see culture. They don't see nothing. They only see American culture. Okay. So let's get into it. Because I got some screenshots. I got some stuff that I want to bring up because we're going to get into this. The fact of the matter is that they're relying on the current trend of young people who are intermarriage, and they're using that number and saying that the current trend of young people marriages based on 1960, when there was love versus loving, or the state of Virginia, loving versus the state of Virginia, where at that moment there was no biracial marriages. Based on that stat, from that point down to the point that we got to 2022, nobody can expect the black community in 2 generations. Cap. Like I said, it's a money grab. It's a snake oil salesman selling you things. And I'll tell you why. Let me explain this to you. The reason why he's going to say these things is because he's already produced a black family. I want to show you this. He's already produced 2 black boys. He's already established everything that we as African Americans want to see is a reflection of ourselves. He even states to himself in his own podcast that he wants to see his grandchildren as a reflection of him. And he's established that already. But now it's time for the money grab. I got divorced. And I want you to understand, it's weird. If he doesn't believe in the black community, then why would you peddle your show to the CW? The CW is specifically aiming at the black community. I didn't notice that you didn't do this on any other channel. You went to your black community to do this. Ain't that something? Ain't that something? So it's easy for him as a divorced attorney to say, hey man, let's go off to the islands and get these Latino girls. Knowing damn well that the average black man making $55,000 cannot obtain that amount. He wants to talk about how the black community is in shambles, but they always want to talk about the 80-20 rule where 56% of the black men are in middle class. They always want to make these black manosphere talking points to where they big up the men, but then they talk about the community as if in shambles. It can't be in shambles if the men aren't in shambles, but you're saying that the men aren't in shambles, it's the women. So it's only the women that are in shambles. You see, this is their stick. They want to prey on men who cannot easily obtain the things that they want in life. But then they tell me that I've already obtained the things in life, so I have no speaking points. I'm sorry. We not going there. I have every right. I've worked hard with my black queen. If things failed out for you, so be it. But at least you've produced 2 black children. So now you can go freely throughout your whole entire life and do whatever you want to do. And now you're spitting black misandry. But that's fake wokeness. So let's get back. Okay, let's dig into the numbers. Let's truly dig into the numbers, because I pulled up a spreadsheet and let's see. He says that the black community is going to be disappearing within the next 40 years. Okay, let's see if this holds true to statistical facts. So let me pull this up. All right. Window bank. So this is a lovely spreadsheet that I made. Okay. And I want you to understand something. In 2000, there are people who were claiming that they were black and Hispanic, and it was 1 million. There were multiracial people at 1.5 million. There were 33.7 million black people. And I'm sorry I put black. This is actually wrong. All right, let's remove this. Damn. So we've actually grown from 2000 to 2010 by 11%, just on pure blackness alone. We've actually grown from 2020 to 2010 by 7%. There are over 40 million pure or people who consider themselves African American. Yes, you will see a rise in this as intermingling and intermingling and everything that goes on. But the simple fact of the matter is that we ain't going nowhere. We ain't going nowhere. You can go to any island you want. You can go to China. You can go anywhere you want. The black community is not leaving. There is no statistically way that you're going to eliminate 40 million people through intermarriage. That is genocide. That is genocide. This is what the white people are saying. There's so many of them that a couple of people get intermarriage. Now their whole bloodline is ruined, and then their whole heritage is no longer existed. That's what they're saying, but you're reversing what they're saying is that you want us to end because we're now going to look outside of our community. Like I said, we don't need the white folks. We got people like Dennis Sterling, who was so fake woke, so much in his SYSBM, that he actually believes this stuff. You will actually see brothers talking about how they're willing to go for other races, and that's fine. Everybody has their preference. But you're advertising it as if you've never attempted it. That you've never attempted it. And that you don't actually have something on the ground. Why don't you tell these young men that, you know what? I love my blackness so much that I don't want to. You know what I'm saying. He loves his blackness so much. He made sure he got his. Now he's a retired. Now he's a lawyer. He done chased ambulances over. He done got the bag. He got drop fold. He got the whole American lifestyle. So now he can actually say that, hey, if I want to have sex with a Latino or a white person, I can do that. That's fair. But I wonder if he didn't have these boys. I'm wondering if he didn't have these children, would he be able to say that? I guarantee you this. If he didn't have those boys, he would make sure that he has a likeness of his own. Because every man of every culture has this feeling. Some of us have it more than others. Some of us feel it more than others. But like I said, with the CW thing, he made sure he tapped in with his community to get his start. I'm pretty sure he's on every black attorney's list. I'm pretty sure he uses every ounce of black community that he can. But he wants to dissipate it through freaking what? Marriage? What the fuck are we talking about? All right. Let's get into some other stuff, all right? Let's get into some other stuff. Okay. He talks about the fact that the younger people view the black community different. But in a recent study through Pew Research, it stated that 70% of people between the ages of 18 to 29 believe that being black is important. That doesn't sound like what you're saying. When we find out that black people love black people, what do you have to sell? Are you just selling to the 30% that hate themselves? Oh, I get it. Y'all on that fake black conservative, there is no race stuff. I get it. Fake wokeism. So let's go into another slide. All right. So this is the big slide, right? This is the big slide. I want you to understand that this is kind of what they're if you look at the yellow line, the yellow line says that between 15 and 29 years old, 22% of intermarital marriages are interracial. 18% is for the 30 to 39s. 40 to 49 is between 16%, and the 50% is 50-year-olds and up are 13%. I want y'all to understand this. They're basing it on the 22%, but they're ignoring the fact that the 42% of the Asian people between the 40 and 49, the 26% of Asian people, does anybody believe that in the next 40 years there is no Asian culture? Does anybody believe, based on this statistical graph, that there will be no white culture, Hispanic culture? Intermarriage does not affect the fact that a culture exists. This is why it's fake woke, because what they're relying on is the 22%. Even statistically, in the next 40 years, even if you add a 2.5 8% margin or a 3% margin to the fact that young people will marry outside of their race, you will only get to 50%. So in 40%, this is why they're saying 40 years. They're saying in 40 years, will disappear because over 50% of us will be marrying out of our race. Even then, as you can see through this statistic, that doesn't make a difference. Because right now, you can go outside and see an Asian culture. Right now, you can see an Hispanic culture. And you can see a white culture. They're peddling smut. This is peddling smut. So, give me a moment. Hold on one second. Sorry, guys. So, let me get to the, the statistics. And I'm going to say things. I'm going to put the link out there. If y'all want to join, y'all going to get off my rant. And we'll have a dialogue about this. But statistically, it doesn't make sense. Economically, it doesn't make sense. Culturally, it doesn't make sense. We can counter every point to your argument with a fact and statistics about other cultures who have less of a population and some have more. And we can see on the boots on the ground that it doesn't make a difference. But in 40 years, to talk about total genocide of a black community, erasing all historical markers, erasing all historical connections, erasing every single thing, is just not going to work. 1 second, y'all. I'm sorry. Sorry, y'all. My house was getting a little too loud. So, and this is what we're on. And I thought this was extremely fake woke. I thought this was fake woke, and this is exactly why we need to be checking. Now, it says all races will merge. I totally disagree with that statement. I think races will have cohabitation, but I don't think they will merge. Merging means going to one. You can't name a place on this earth where all races have merged after thousands of years. So all of a sudden, because of laws, we're going to talk about a total elimination without war. Like, stop. It's just all cap, and what they're doing is they're trying to peddle things. So let's continue. I got more. Y'all thought I was gonna stop there. All right. Slide 4. Now what they're saying is this statistic. I don't know if y'all can understand this. This chart is the side on the left is the husband, and the side on the right is the wife. Meaning that if you're black husband, you're on the left. If you're a black wife, you're on the right. I want you to go down and look at the third line where it says Hispanic black 1 to 4. The fact of the matter is that we're not going out to find Latinas. We are more than likely to go out and find white women. This is not a passport bros problem. This is what they're trying to peddle us. They're trying to peddle us passport bros. And the statistics just don't add up. They're selling a lifestyle. That they can benefit off of you by getting subscriptions and subs and saying, hey, yeah, I just went to Santo Domingo in Mexico. I had a great time. Not knowing what comes with it. Not knowing what the hell it's about. Not knowing the cultural backstand. Have you ever even been around Asian people enough to understand what women want in that culture? So like I said, the concern is dominance. What good is a culture of you have no means or control over dictating the standard? I agree. This is why we need to raise the boys to be strong. This is why we need to raise the men to be strong. So give me one moment, okay? Give me one moment. I apologize, but these people in my background are driving me nuts. Give me one moment, okay? All right, sorry, y'all. I have a loud dog in front. All right, sorry, y'all. All right, Buffalo was a harsh reminder of lady of economy or lack of economy is what he's trying to say. Shout out to Info Man. Okay, so let's talk about this. The Buffalo shooting had nothing to do with the lack of economy. It was a reminder that we're black, and that black people over the globe are being targeted by people who do not want to see us prosper. That has nothing to do with it. The fact of the matter is that a white man can go 3 hours and try to find a black community in upstate New York should tell you that no matter what, we're going to be here. If you want to find black people, go to their community. And to say that somehow that's going to disappear in 40 years. Like, my daughter is 7. To say that by her 47th birthday, she's not going to have a black community to go back to is just the most aberrant thing I've ever heard. The most aberrant thing. So, anyway, let's continue on. Let's continue on. I'm sorry, y'all. This is all over the place, but I got. So, even by, like I said, by statistics, the passport bros are trying to tell you to go travel abroad. But even by statistics, even black people and black men are not marrying across the board, over the border. Most of the interracial marriages that you're seeing are usually between white and Hispanics or white and Asian. Even within the white and even within the black community, we're more than likely to marry a white girl than a Latino. Let's go on to the next slide. Okay. What's going on, my guy? Hello?
Hello.
Yes. What do you have on the subject matter?
Am I on?
Yes.
Excellent. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, you're perfect.
Okay, great. Yeah, my name is May. And I've found all of this really interesting. The manosphere, I just discovered it only when everybody had started talking about it, I think around January. And I think I've gotten way deeper into it as far as being interested in all the different people. I just discovered it like so many other people.
Yes.
And I find what you're saying very refreshing. I'm new to your channel, and I was watching Dennis Spurling. I've left a couple of comments underneath his post, and I saw that he's trying to capitalize by selling black men fantasy.
Yes.
And it's troubling. And I'm in a unique position to speak on it because this focus on either Brazil, Colombia, for those who are more exotic, Thailand, and then more so the Dominican Republic.
Hmm.
Um, this came on my radar a while back, this fantasy of black men. So this is not necessarily new. They've been doing this whole sex tourism around the globe, but now it's becoming popular because of the manosphere. This
Yeah.
was it, black men going their own way.
Yes.
Um, that's the new catchphrase. That's the new movement. But this has actually been going on for a while. Um, I hope I'm not going to be judged by this, but as a woman, I probably should not have entered this field. And I'm not talking about the new stuff. I'm talking about probably about 10 years ago. I had a friend who was a teacher, and he was telling me that, he was making all this money in the Dominican Republic. And I was like, what? What are you doing? Because, I was also an educator at that time. And he was like, oh, this is the best thing. He was like, what you do is you get a villa over in the Dominican Republic. And then what he did is he basically took black men from either New York or Atlanta. He had a Range Rover. He got them, picked them up from the airport, took them around, brought women to these villas. They had all the fantasies of the hip hop videos.
Yeah.
Everything that a black man wants to experience, all his fantasies are realized in this one weekend. And this brother was caking. So it's a fantasy that's for sale.
Yeah, I definitely think he's. I realize that because they never really talk about the upkeep, the family, learning different languages. It's all about women serving you because you want to be served. And I'm like, it's more than that to keep a woman, no matter where you're at in the world. But you're focusing purely on that. To me, I smell fake. Like I really do smell the fakeness, and I'm like, yo, are you gonna be able? Because most there's cultural things. Are you gonna be like if you're a Baptist? Are you gonna switch her religion from Catholic to Baptist? Why don't we ever talk about that? How do you switch a woman's religion as the man of the house? Are you marrying women that are different religions? Does that make you an alpha man? Does that make you a leader of your household if the woman has a different religion?
Good points. Well, see, that's the thing. You're coming at this very logical and very practical because you are trying to figure out how to make something realistically work if it's going to be a family. These men are not going over there to create families. They're going to exploit women. This is just simply sex tourism and fantasy making.
Yeah.
And so that's what Dennis Spurling is selling these black men. He's selling them, oh, you'll find your wife. Oh, you're going to find the right woman and all these things. They're better than black women. But let me tell you something. I've been dealing in the Dominican Republic for 10 years, intimately in the Dominican Republic. That brother told me about the way he was making $3,000 per black man to come over there and help them live out their fantasies, navigate the language and all of that. So I ended up buying a villa myself over there. And I really rent mine to mostly Germans because that's who Germans and French is what rents from me. And they rent for the whole year. So they're really there on retiree vacations. But of course, they deal with the women when they're there. But anyway, my point is this: there's a lot of money to be made. And I believe that might have been what Kevin Samuels was about to start doing, was exactly that business. I think he was going to start doing tourism, taking people on cruises to the Dominican Republic. I don't know, but for some reason, Dennis Spurling is on this and he's on it hard. It almost seems to me like this might have been Kevin Samuel's next business move. And it would have been a very big moneymaker if he could keep up this anti-black American woman hate.
Yeah.
Get your passports, brother. Get your passports. Think about how much he was saying that. And I think that Dennis Spurling took that man's so-called brilliant idea And I think he's running with it because every single stream from this point forward is all about the Dominican Republic, particularly. And he's showing all his videos and his history of himself. But let me tell you, there's some realities to it. Those sisters over there are sisters. They're black women. They just speak Spanish. They're black. No doubt about it. I don't know what fantasies they're selling over here that they're
I had
passing
to I
on.
had to remind somebody that okay, well, we all call it the Dominican Republic as an island by itself, but it's all connected to a whole nother island part, which is Haiti, right?
That's right.
So it's like this whole notion. It's like this almost geographical ignorance thing that goes on.
Oh yeah, they're black. They're totally black. So I don't know why I think they're running away from black women. They just might can't talk shit to you because they speak Spanish, and maybe they cuss you out. You don't know. um, that could be some of it. But this is the thing. I'm not trying to demonize those Dominican women, but let me dispel the fantasy. I've dealt a lot over there. I watch all these men get off the plane from New York, coming off the whatever jet, whatever the jet is, they call it, something jet, value jet or whatever. Um, I see them come down on the streets with all their little glasses and they dressed up and they coming down there to fulfill these fantasies. But they will tell you after they've been coming for a couple of years that these women are cutthroat. I need black men to understand that this is not about love. It's not about submission. As soon as you are down to $5, them chicks get gone. This is a money thing. Them women, at least black women, tell you what you need to make in order to be a partner. Those women don't have those conversations. They are going to ride and ride and ride and do whatever you want to do because they're poor. But as soon as you run out of your money, they're done.
And I think even when you talk about Thailand, right, or the Philippines, like they say the same thing. These women are there, and yeah, you might get a woman who's there, but they're only there to support their own family.
That's right.
They don't understand that the fact that you're never going to separate them from their family, their religion. They're not going to
No,
separate. They will wake up, give you cooked meals. They will do everything that you supposedly want with your basic self, and and then once the money's gone, guess what? They're gone.
oh yeah. Dennis Spurling needs to tell people when he's showing all them women in bathing suits that's in the pool hanging around like they just love him. He needs to tell them that those women are costing him about $150 each a day. And every time they do some sucking or any extra stuff, they're adding. Just like when you go to the strip club, you go ahead and go to the strip club. I used to go to the strip club with my husband. Go to the strip club and you think that chick is standing there dancing and keeps dancing. If she danced for 20 minutes, you divide it by three, 30 minutes. Divided by three. That was 10 dances. She gonna
Mm.
turn around and ask you for her 10 dances to be paid for. If you ever thought she was dancing because she thought you was cute or because she liked you and she just kept dancing, no, she was counting every song. And that's the same way those women are. They're very polite and they are gonna cook for you. They're gonna give you every fantasy of submission. They're gonna do all kind of tricks and flips, whatever you want to have. They're gonna give it to you. But it's a price to everything. And Dennis Spurling is not telling people that these are paid for women. These are prostitutes. They're all prostitutes.
And think about it, like even when you talk about the men and going to Mexico and these travel locations, I'm like, bro, you really gonna? So you're telling me you're gonna go over to a country
Hmm.
for 1 week? This woman's gonna be submissive to you just because. Just because fall in love with you like Aladdin and like just this whole thing reeks of like, okay, I don't want it, but I can understand why some men want it because they're tired of having to work hard. They're tired of having to be accountable or held accountable for the standards that they keep. They don't want to contribute to the society. Like I remember when I was younger,
Hmm.
and I remember being told you're too young, you don't have a voice. Now I'm old enough. I have a voice.
Hmm.
I am shaping this country. I am putting the blocks of the future of this country. I'm willing to take that responsibility. I do it in my voting. I do it in the way I act, the way I raise my children. I'm starting to realize a lot of people don't want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to vote. They don't want to take care of their children. They don't want to work the hours to contribute to the tax base. They just want somebody else to take care of it and them to be happy. This is why they people, like I said, we talk about red pill and blue pill. I swear, I think a lot more people would rather take a blue pill and be famous than take the real pill and do the hard work that it takes to revive their community.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know what I hear you saying is that there's some need for escapism. And
Yeah,
maybe that's what they're selling, some form of escapism. Because what you talk about is accountability. You're
yeah,
talking about people standing up, sacrificing, working hard, being solid, being accountable. And that's hard work. Having a woman who you can actually understand what she's saying, it's easier to have somebody who don't speak English, right?
yeah.
You don't have to argue with them. I mean, that's, not that we want to argue, but I'm just saying that that meeting is equal minds. It's almost like it's a form of escapism. I want to have someone who's in poverty. That way I can rule my money over them. And women do it to men too. So this ain't just, there are women who
Now
come
hold
to the
on, hold
country who
on,
do the
hold
same.
on.
Hmm.
Now I will confirm with this guy. This is a stand up dude. No kids. I don't want to put too much business, but he's exactly the people who I would say with money, and I will say that this is one of the guys that could go to any place in this globe and probably be treated like a king based on his status.
Hmm.
He's saying that I don't agree with that if at all if someone actually moves there, but visiting there, I agree.
He agrees with what?
Basically, with the premise that the women are only cutthroat there.
They are. The men don't want to deal with the reality of it. Let me tell you how I say cutthroat because I've gotten to know some of the prostitutes, okay? And I have conversations with them.
Hmm.
I sit in the bars. I am not a prostitute. I'm actually a very professional woman. I don't want to seem like I'm mixing up when I said I got involved with it. I meant as a property owner. I felt it was a vibrant place that I could always keep rented out as an Airbnb because it was so high in prostitution. And I do have some, fault in that. That's not good on my end as a woman.
Yeah.
But my point is this: they are cutthroat. And my husband, I'm gonna give you a perfect example. My husband had allowed one of his friends to accompany him to the Dominican Republic. He went 3, 4 times. He got addicted, and this is a cycle for these black men. They get addicted. And I'm not saying my husband's friend was a nerd, but there are men who are nerdy. Let me just break it down. There are men who have micro penis. There are men who are in what do you call it when your penis doesn't work? What is that called?
Oh, impotent,
Impotent. Yes.
impotent. Yes.
So they're impotent, they're older. Nothing wrong with older men. I respect older men, but they're balding. And I'm not saying everybody over there is like that, but you have a lot of men, they're nerdy, they're geeky, they're socially awkward, they're
What
fat.
about just the fact that they just don't want to deal with it? Because I will give them that. The idea is this: is that black women
Mhm.
are so horrible that they don't even want to deal with them.
I think that we need to say, what is it about the black women that they are attracting to them? That would be my first question because I am a black woman. I don't think all black women are horrible. I think there are a lot of men who haven't had success with black women. But then my question would be, why you got to go to DR? Why can't you get you a Becky right here? If it's all that, if it's so easy, if women come easy for you, why you got to go out of the country? There's Asians here, there are Latinas here, and there are also all the other women here. So that's my question with the passport. I think the passport thing is more about a fantasy. But
Yeah.
if we want to talk about sisters, then the question is, what quality of brother is having such a hard time finding a good quality sister? And the reason why I say that, I don't know, maybe I'm idealistic, but would you not agree, brother, that decent men can attract decent women or suitable? What would you say?
Yeah, I think what the problem is that for a lot of professional men
Mm-hmm.
now, I will actually I will say this, I became a computer programmer in a small town, 150,000, 200,000, right?
All right.
But I'm a I became the man. Like statistically, I was very blessed in my city, but I
Yeah.
have trouble meeting women because the bars wasn't it. House party wasn't it, and I had to find myself going out of town to like Houston, but knowing that I couldn't go to Houston because I'd have to be in the Houston circle, going back home to Cali, trying to figure out the days of the week and trying to figure that out. I can understand how a man can say, you know what, show me the place, show me a woman that's willing, and I will accept that. What do you say to those guys? Because like I want you to understand, like there are men. I can understand a guy, your point from a guy from Houston, New York, big cities. But what about the small town middle guy that's maybe living outside of the norm? He just wants a submissive woman, but he can't seem to find that. And then all you have to do is look at that pamphlet and pay $5,000 every 3 months, and I can find me a submissive woman. Like,
Right. You know what? We're in a global era, and I do see it. I mean, and it's not like black men are the only ones. White men have been getting women from Eastern Europe for a long time. Hell, Trump's got two of them, right? He imported his European women. So this ain't new, but it's
yeah,
a shortcut in a global world. I would say that a man has to find what's right for him. I'm gonna just stop speaking as a woman, and I'm just gonna
yes.
say this: a man has to find what's right for him. And if there are good men out here who are overlooked because of how they look or how they act, or even if he's just a normal guy, but he's like you said, in a place where he can't really find what he's looking for, he has every right to go wherever he has to go or wants to go,
Do you
wherever that
think?
may be. Yeah.
Do you
Go
think that? Okay, I just want to say this because he's attacking black women as if they're just this fictional object, right?
right.
And I'm just kind of like, okay, we all know what black women are about. Like, it's like, okay, let me put it to you like this: don't get a lion if you only want a house cat. If you can't handle lions, I get it, but just say you don't can't handle lions. And that's my point. Is like,
Uh,
is it really the fact that black women are just so out of order that black men can't deal with it, or is it the fact that men at high, because this covers a lot. Men at high value don't want to deal with the lions. They do want a house cat. They don't. I understand from a standpoint, but I also think from another standpoint that you don't like Samoa. I've been around Samoan women, and there are so much powerful women. I've been around Latino women. They don't take shit. Like I'm just so confused at where the pushback is. Like,
right. Well, I got a couple of issues with the whole manosphere black woman.
yeah,
Nobody ever addresses this, but my thing is this: you got different social classes of black women, first of all, and it seems to me the manosphere always wants to take Shaniqua with the four kids, three baby daddies, and underemployed, ignorant with a bonnet on her head, and they want to make her all black women, and she got an
yeah.
attitude and she cussed too much. They want to make her the norm, and she represents all black women, and therefore that's how all black women are judged by Shaniqua, and Shaniqua's not the norm. In my opinion, I think Shaniqua represents that cultural aspect of any culture where you have your people who have been in poverty, cycles of struggle. Every culture has that. Latinos have that. Asians have that. You always have an underclass. Nobody wants to talk about class, but that's real. Okay. And there's that working class, poor group of women that the manosphere wants to focus on. What they don't focus on is, for example, women like myself. I'm 3, 4 generations of black middle class, professional class people. I do not think like Shaniqua. I don't carry myself like Shaniqua. And they ignore us. And we're the ones, for the most part, I would say us black middle class females who had fathers who grew up in the house in a traditional household, 3 and 4 great grandmothers and stuff, all married with children in wedlock. They don't see us. Those black American princesses, they don't talk about us. We know how to be strong because our mothers taught us that, and our dads taught us also how to be submissive. So we got the mama and the daddy. We know what it looks like. We know how to act in a marriage, right? Um, and they don't talk about us. There's a
I,
lot of
I
us.
would love for one of my Manosphere brothers to come up because I know I if you haven't known that, I am all over the place. Like I don't, I would love for my black manosphere, because maybe I'm not the guy to really kind of push back on the ideology. But I will say this is before I read this: foreign influences are fine. Submission then is there truly a practical table we genuinely established to build long lasting relationships? This passport travel is crazy. Dr. gave May knowledge. Okay. So
He gave men knowledge.
it gave you knowledge, I'm guessing.
Oh well, yeah. Well, I got a lot of knowledge, and I can talk about how they cutthroat later if you guys want to explore that, because I didn't see and heard a whole lot
Yeah,
about
that's another
cutthroat.
thing. I look, I barely can go to Disneyland and not catch my and not hold my check my wallet every 5 times. You think I'm about to go to freaking Mexico or the Caribbean or wherever place and not like watch like man, like that's just the most dangerous thing in the world. Like these are human freaking beings. You think they just wake up one day and just say, "Hey, I want a guy from America," and whatever he will do. If I see him, I'll fall in love. It's like, come on now.
Uh,
You
I
think
have
she don't?
multiple friends who have married women thinking they were in love because when I say cutthroat, I'm talking about somebody who kisses your toes so delicately and they fix your food with so much love and compassion and rubbing your head. All these gestures are lies. I'm sorry. I'm not a
Mm-hmm.
man, and I feel bad for those men who go through this. My husband allowed his friend to stay in our place multiple times. He went for like back to back. And a lot of black men do this. They're very addicted to these places once they start going. Once they find these women, these clusters of women, these bars crawling with women, and they're just ready from the moment they meet you. They're ready to give you every fantasy. And I'm not just talking about sexual. I'm saying hold your hand and compliments and stuff. These they will never get this. They will never ever get this in the United States. I can guarantee you, they will never. A
Oh,
black woman is
they
not going
you
to do
what you
it.
just described. I ain't. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I'm
I
texting a couple of people who I know who
I
are.
watch it. I watch it on the beaches. I watch it. This is what I do when I go there. I watch black men because there's no black women in this town because there's no reason for black women to be there except my crazy butt because I bought a property there. But when I go to fix my place up and redecorate, I end up spending lots of time just watching these interactions at the bars and stuff. And it's all these black men from Atlanta and all over, but New York and Atlanta, and they come regularly. They come almost every weekend. They
Yeah.
sometimes come once a month
How
and
much
they
is the
get
trip
addicted.
there?
The trip is probably about 400
Oh,
round trip.
what?
Yeah, 400. It's cheap. That's why they go. Yeah, it's 400.
Oh,
And then the
man.
hotels are only like $35
What?
and the booty is only about 100. I have a friend who did a marathon and he ended up having sex with like 6 women. He was bragging about it. 6 women in one day. This is normal there. They have sex with as many women as they can. They wear themselves out. It's really interesting. And they come there and they put on. They come in there like they're rich men, like they from like they're Vegas casino owners. That's how they act. And they
That's what I was about to say is that when you think about Las Vegas, you always think about the Hooters, Las Vegas Strip prostitutes, that type of lifestyle. And then when you get there,
Mhm.
you realize it's like, do I want to get arrested or, but but it's still the lifestyle thing that, and I don't want to discredit. Look, I really don't want to discredit what he's saying. Like I, because I know this is rooted in something. I know this is rooted in something. I know when he's saying that, the black community will disappear in 40 years. And like I said, I was on a panel,
Mhm.
and when they kind of described the whole notion of it, I kind of understood what they were coming from. But, the demographics, what he's talking about, neither the demographics nor the culture dictate that it will remain intact over the next 40 years. He's really talking about interracial marriage. That's what I found out.
Mhm.
And then when he talks about supporting black men, and then I'm like, no matter what, like we're in the high 70s, 80s, overwhelmingly. It's not even close. It's not even like 2 for 2 or 2 for 4, like 2 out of 4. It's like, 5 out of 8. We are marrying black women. So when you say you don't support the black community, but you also are not going to support black men, you're just it's contradictory. And to
Hmm.
me, that was just so fake woke.
I think he wants to show. I think that at the end of the day, I think he has two things. He either wants to show off that he has some new answer that nobody else had ever heard of because he's talking to a group of men who've never traveled before. Notice that Kevin Samuels has for the most part, his followers are poorer, working class black men.
Hmm.
Those are the ones, the averagers or whatever, the men who are probably making 50,000 and under. Those are the ones that were Kevin Samuel's followers. He wants to collect those men and give them something to hang on to so they have something to hope for. That's what I think, marketing wise. This is all a marketing thing, right? Because and I think that he wants to sell himself. He calls himself what, the guardian of the Godfather or something like that. He wants a purpose for himself, a public purpose, and he, I think, wants to extend what Kevin Samuels began. And I believe that, watch what I
But he
say,
didn't.
he's going to develop a tourism program for these black men. There's some money on this. This is
But
not even like
but the thing
about,
about it is, Kevin Samuels supported black marriages. He
no, he
wanted,
didn't.
Kevin Samuels wanted black men and black women to sit down and make a deal. But
I don't know that
this
I
didn't
agree with
sound
that.
like a deal to me. This sounds like, we're gonna leave.
I think Dennis Spurling is not being logical about anything. I think that he's got to figure out how to switch it up, make himself some kind of, he needs a spot to even show off, to show, look, I got the answer. And he's using this tourism thing, and I believe the tourism thing is going to turn into a lot of lucrative money. I've already seen brothers do this. They're making a killing. Let's think about this. If you can even get 5,000 black men to commit to getting on a payment program, right? Like a
Yes.
tour. Every month they pay you $200, $300 in increments. And then you have cruises, you have whole resorts you've rented out, and you fill it with all these different women, whether it's Colombia, Brazil, or Dominican Republic. There are brothers doing this, and they're making a lot of money on a small scale. So imagine if you got a platform like this. Watch what I say now. He's going to develop the answer. He's going to start having conventions and having these men sign up, Passport Brothers. He's going to give it some kind of name. This is a marketing scheme. I wouldn't even try to be logical about what he's doing. He's going to take that spotlight and get himself rich. That's what I think. Hello?
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
Were you able to hear me?
Sorry about that. Hello. Can you hear me?
Hello?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Were you able to hear me?
Yes. Well, actually, no. I have a short in my mic, and it throws my whole computer into haywire when I
Oh,
touch
okay. Okay.
it.
Well, yeah, my last comment was just basically saying that I think this is a marketing scheme, and I think if he's able to figure out how to get even 5,000 brothers a year to pay him on a payment plan, that they're going to go to the, we're talking about three to $5,000 for this
Yes.
experience. I think he's going to get rich, and I think that's what he's doing right now. This is all marketing.
Yeah, and I agree. I think this is marketing, but it's the most aberrant style of marketing. You
Well,
know,
he gets
I,
to show off. He gets to be the man. He gets to show out his videos with the women and the mamacitas. But the
oh
trick
man,
is
because
this.
I was gonna roast the hell out of him, but I was like, let me be light because, like I said, this is a guy who I don't know. I don't know his true motives, but I kind of see his motives. Like, I want you to understand this. This show, and I'm not doxing him. Like, I just don't want people to understand. This show was on the CW. We all know what the CW is, right?
No, what is it?
The CW is like BET Light. This is
Okay.
just a channel 13 instead of 12. It it wasn't no there wasn't you didn't get BET, but you got the next best thing.
Okay.
And this is he was on this show. This is his divorced wife with his parent with his two young black kids, and he wanted to present the co-parenting aspect of his stuff. But like I've said, is like, okay, bro, you've already produced your kids. Like if you're a black man and you produced your kids already, if you didn't produce your kids, then I can understand you saying this. But now you've already produced it. Now you just sound like a retired vet talking about, hey, I'm about to go to the island. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It just sounds like it gives me that vibe that you've already lived enough life to where now you're like, hey, I've already done that. You deal with them black women, go ahead, deal with them. I'm not.
Ah.
And it's like, that's what it gives me the vibe of. But then for
Mhm.
the rest of us, we're like, yo, we're trying to still get the things that you've done, the lawyership, he doesn't even go into the fact that did he meet his wife when he was already in practice. He doesn't really explain the family aspect. He all of a sudden we just see two kids. We don't understand anything prior to that in terms of family building and structure. But now you're just willing to throw the whole black community away for what? YouTube views?
I don't think it's views. That's what I'm telling you. I think this is his next scheme. He's fantasy selling. He can actually monetize this bigger than YouTube.
Yeah.
He can monetize it just the same way. See, Kevin Samuels had already started having those what in person men gatherings and stuff.
Yes.
He can have these passport things that he does a tour across America, and he get them men hyped up. He's already got them hyped up, showing all them videos of these beautiful women and how they kiss his butt and all this kind of stuff. He's telling them the fantasy. All he got to do now is sell it to them.
Yeah.
Literally sell it to them. I'll take your Cash App deposit of $200. Imagine coming to Atlanta. He got a room full of men who come, even online. He can create a website and do this easily. Sign up tonight. And I mean, think about how many cash apps or whatever form of method of payment, how many thousands he would get instantly. You coming with Dennis Spurling to the Dominican Republic. Then we go into Colombia. Then we go into Brazil. Them brothers will kill themselves trying to pay for it. They will.
Yeah.
It's very well sold. And I mean, on the outside, the fantasy, if I was a man, I'd do it. But I see what you're saying. I totally would. I see what you're saying. Like you've lived the life, you've had the opportunity, you have been the married man, you've played roles, brother. And we need to play our roles to have our children in healthy families. And you've
Yeah.
already done it. And now you just want to dump it out because you on a new thing, because you're 50. We ain't 50. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. It's like, yo, don't put these in our young brothers that hey, go marry a Becky just and then with the idea that that's gonna make your life better,
Hmm.
or that she's gonna be any more better, or she's not gonna take you for your car, or she's not gonna take you for your house. They're even more cutthroat. Go to
Oh,
court with a
yeah.
white girl. Go
That's
ahead, go,
Tiger Woods. That's Tiger Woods.
bro. Go to court with Maricela.
Okay.
Shit, your ass. Look, bro. You and it would look. I ain't even gonna get into the whole racial component, but y'all think it's stuff sweet, and and like I said, I get it. Every man has his preference. Every man deserves to be treated the way that he feels that he deserves to be treated. But be realistic on who's the messenger trying to feed you why
Agreed.
other races are better than they are. Look at their lives. Look at who they are. And do they
Exactly.
match up, or are they just selling you something because of their anecdotal experience? What's up, Heron?
Hey, what's going on, brother? How you doing?
What you got on it, man?
Um, well, when I saw the brother, a couple of months ago after Kevin Samuels died, I don't really know the brother, but when I saw him, he didn't even have to really open his mouth, that I already knew what he was on. He looked like a used car salesman. You know what I mean?
He is
So
an ambulance chaser, so
I'm not shocked. I'm not shocked. I will ask this question though, like, because I really want to get a better understanding of this passport bro stuff. It seems like it's really gaining a lot of traction. Why are brothers going abroad? Why are they doing this? Can anyone give me any reasons? Because I don't want to assume anything. Has anyone spoken to these guys
I've
to get.
I've literally got I've literally like text message about 4 or 5 people like who I know who are passport bros, and I'm trying to get I'm trying to get them on now, but the, from my understanding is that you don't have to. Okay, I did a Black Pill series, right?
Hmm.
From the Black Pill perspective, is that the America changes people. America changes the way that women act, and they are spoiled, like spoiled meat. You need to go to a different place where they recognize things like, "Hey, you work a job. Oh, that's great. You you treat your family good. That's great." America does certain things to people that women want more. So going to a different country with different societal standards, and you get to break down a lot of things, and people get to know the true you. Is this the opinion that I've gotten so far?
All right, I just want to break down a few things before I head out. Um, there's a lot of flaws in that thinking, and I'll be fair and I'll speak on everything. First of all, what we're discussing at the core of this, we're discussing power dynamics.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they're going over there because they want leverage,
Yeah.
and they just do not have the leverage that they seek over here. And the reason why they don't have the leverage that they this is all relative. The reason why that they don't have the leverage that they seek over here is due to the effects and the spoils provided to women through feminism. Feminism wanted women, feminism wanted a situation where women can go to school, women have the choice to enter the workforce, so on and so forth, which is
Yeah.
no, which I don't believe is an issue. But the problem that a lot of men are facing is that, let's just call it what it is. A lot of these men want to go abroad because they basically want to go back in time. They want to go back into the 1950s or the 1960s when women had a very limited amount of options. They
Mm-hmm.
had to consult with their husband to get a bank account. They were not allowed into the workforce. They essentially had to be dependent on their husbands. Here is the problem that we're not discussing. A lot of the romanticizing that people have about the relationships from the 1950s, the relationships that your grandmother probably had or your mother probably had, they don't talk about that the reason why your mom or your grandmom probably hung around is because she had no other options.
Yeah.
She had no place else
Well,
to go.
that's tough because my grandma was lit. She got 7 husbands.
Now,
She had options.
well, we're not talking about we're not. I don't want to discuss, what I mean, the little outliers here and there. I'm just talking about overall, because if everyone was okay, there wouldn't have been a reason for feminism. There was a time when women couldn't even vote. But
Yeah.
I want someone to stay on the topic of generally speaking. Now, these men, they just don't have the resources to compete,
Yeah.
in America. I don't understand why a lot of men don't accept the fact that $50,000 and under, that's that ain't no money, man. That's
Yeah.
not money. If you want to, you're barely able to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Now,
I
if you live
remember.
in
No,
one
just a
second.
just a quick segue. I remember when I got my first apartment. I was a 19-year-old. I had
Okay.
my first apartment. I had a little bucket Tudo Cutlass Supreme.
Hmm.
Was it Bromham Supreme? I thought I was a
Hmm.
man. I realized there was a whole nother level to that. I'm like, man, what the?
Absolutely.
I was like, what? I'm like,
Look,
what?
man. Look, look. I saw a 3 or 4 bedroom apartment in New York the other day. It was about $4,000. There are $1 million homes in California, so on and so forth. And a lot of people want to, a lot of men want to live in these big cities, and they don't understand that, well, you have to be ultra competitive in order to not only stay in these particular cities, but to thrive and, create families and opportunities. Now, I just want to wrap this up real quick. These brothers, it sounds like they're going overseas to meet these women and to, do whatever with these women because they want to experience the life of a man who has the resources in America. They can't experience it in America. So in a sense, they're attempting to recreate it in countries that basically are destitute. Women have to be submissive, so on and so forth. So they're paying for the experience that they can't experience at home. Now I
Mm-hmm.
guarantee you, if they take those same women and they bring them back,
Uh-oh.
and she starts hanging out with maybe a couple of Latinas in the Bronx. If she starts hanging out with a couple of, if she starts going to the Puerto Rican Day Parade or some shit like that, you gonna be asked out, brother, because you gonna find out that she realized that, hey, you just a guppy in
Brother
America. I
Brother
thought you was a
Heron, you
shark.
are right. Yep.
I thought you was a shark. And my thing is like this. I'm all for this. If you can't make it in your hometown, where the fuck are you going? Like, where are you going? That's not a flex. That's not
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
flex to say that you had to go run to a poor country to have options. Maybe that says everything that it needs to say about you.
Ooh. Damn.
Now, I don't want to sit here and beat down on brothers, but I'm very hard on black men, and the reason being is because we've allowed this country to treat us poorly because we don't treat ourselves with a degree of dignity. We don't push ourselves. We don't demand excellence of ourselves, and we keep asking and trying to convince people to respect this when we
Yeah.
don't display the degree of respect that we should, be displaying. And the last point that I'm gonna make here is this: the halo effect is one of the main reasons why a lot of black people basically they look toward white people as a deity subconsciously. They picture them having these amazing lives, and some the way that a lot of these people perceive white people. You think some of these motherfuckers actually walk on water for real, and they don't understand that no, there are a lot of poor white people out here. I've met actually poor white people,
Yeah. I didn't know
grown
there
up
was
around
poor
a lot
white
of poor
people.
white people.
I did not know there was poor white people until I moved to Texas.
Brother, there's a gang of poor white people, and guess what? Those
Man.
are the motherfuckers that they actually make sure vote when it's time to actually vote.
Yeah.
If you
When I
really
mean
want to
by
be real about it,
I knew that there was white people that didn't have like a lot of money, but I didn't know there was white people that was like, yo, like,
yo, there's white people that have experienced a degree of poverty that I have not experienced in America.
and
Okay,
I'm being
and I
real
was
with
poor,
you.
and I
I've
was poor
never seen
growing up.
that. And when
Uh,
I seen it, and when I say communities of it, not just like
yes,
one or two houses, I'm talking about
yes,
communities to where they say
yes,
don't
and it's
cross. Was they giving me black advice? Don't cross them tracks. I'm like, what?
yes, and
Yeah.
guess what? The only thing that they have, the main way that the government keeps them in check and the elite keeps them in check is that they tell them that at the end of the day, well, at least you're not black, and they buy into that shit.
Yeah.
They buy into that
Yeah.
shit. So, with that, the both of you, thank you for giving me your time. I'm about
But
to
but
run.
but hold on
Black,
one second, brother.
what's up?
I just want to
What's
tell
up?
you real quick. Yeah. You are absolutely on point, and I have a lot of respect for a lot of everything that you said. And you made a
Thank you,
very good
sister.
point. Yes, you made a very good point about if they bring the women here. And this is the part that hits my heart when I deal with the whole DR thing. I can only speak on DR because I've not been to Brazil. My husband has, but I haven't. Um, it is true that these brothers they end up hurt. heartbroken. And I don't think people like Dennis Spurling are even preparing those brothers for that. He's not telling them that these are fantasies, y'all. These are women who are poor. They come from very, very poor families. And if their family makes $20 per person a week, they're doing good. He doesn't tell
Mhm.
them that. We're talking about extreme poverty, and these women are selling what the God has given them. They've realized they can monetize it. And what you're saying is real, because I have had several of my husband's friends who were going over to these countries, and they brought the women back because they were convinced after they had left them there for a whole year, and she was still seeming loyal and all of that stuff. They brought them here, and within a year, the women got their green cards and they got on. They got with their
I'm sure they
communities and they
did.
got on. They will leave you as soon as they get to the United States. They're gonna find a richer man, a more a Dominican man. They're gonna find somebody else. All of them, if they're young and ambitious and they like that money, they're going to come to America so they can hunt for another man on a black man's green card. Let's keep it real.
Absolutely. I mean, you find out real quick you ain't nothing but a bridge over troubled waters at the end of the day. So I just want brothers to smarten up. Do not allow yourself to fall for the banana in the tailpipe, man. You know what I mean? Concentrate on yourself, concentrate on growing individually, work on your finances, improve yourself, man. And don't, because if you don't, you allow yourself to be vulnerable to these shysters and these snake oil salesmen who
Yeah.
are just basically speaking to your insecurities and your vulnerabilities.
Yeah. Hey, Heron, on a larger scale, what do you think about the larger statement of the black community will not exist? And I know we're long stroking you, man, but
No, 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 no. Well, from what my interpretation of that is, I mean, in terms of where we are on the socioeconomic level,
yes.
and where we are in terms of black men not leading, effectively, and the onus being on us, and we need to really, what I mean, shape up in that area. That's where I stand on. Now, I don't know what his, intention
Well, like I
of
said,
the statement
no,
was.
the whole statement, because like I said, I had a whole conversation with it. It's the fact
Okay.
that they're leaning on the fact that younger generations of people
Okay.
are being more, Bronny James is going to the prom with a white girl, we're becoming more of an open society, and
He's
statistic,
talking about that.
yes, but
Oh,
statistically, interracial marriages are, of course, like a couple of percentage higher than, say, for let me even bring up the stat. I can bring up without bringing up the stats.
mhm.
Basically, it's for between the ages of 15, which is the eligible age of marriage, to 29. It's at 22%, one out of basically five. For the ages of 30 to 39, it's probably like 16 or 18%. And as you get older, of course, you get more into Jim Crow slavery or Jim Crow
Right,
era,
right.
all that stuff. But what they're saying is that they're leaning on the fact that based on percentages, black people will basically breed themselves out of the community.
Well, here's my take, and here's the thing. One of the issues that I have with a lot of our people when dealing with interracial marriage, and I've seen
Yeah.
this, and I'm not saying all, but I've seen
Shout
this.
out
I've
Yella.
seen black men and black women treat their white counterparts better than their previous black counterpart. Yes, I have seen it. I have seen black people be on their best behavior when they are with their white counterparts, and in my opinion, that just rubs me the wrong way. I find it disgusting. Like, look, you can date whomever you want to date, okay? But if you are only the best version of yourself when you are not with your people, that speaks volumes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And my to basically answer your overall point, I am not in support of us basically wiping ourselves out. I hope that doesn't happen, but I think economically speaking, and just as a community, we need to get our shit together, or else we will die off. It's just nature. If
Yeah.
you can't compete, nature is going to come get us. And nature is brutal and it's unforgiving and it's a friend to no one.
But with the 40 years statement, that sounds really like
That's a little crazy.
yeah,
That's a little crazy. I
and
mean,
then not
mathematically speaking, that just can't stop me. That just can't happen. I mean, niggas will fuck white people like every day, and that not happen. That's not no
and then not
that's
only that,
hyperbole.
I literally because I was trying to figure out what I heard that from, and I remember it's called the Great Replacement theory. And this is actually
Right.
a white supremacist talking point. So this is why we're doing this. This is because once I'm like, where have I heard this from? Because it wasn't just the 40 years. It was like, okay, well, the 40 years was crazy,
No,
but
no, that
then
sounds like hyperbole.
and then not only the 40 years was crazy, but then I realized I was like, wait, where did I hear this from? And I'm like, I know I've heard this theory before, and I realized it was a white supremacist talking point. I'm like, oh no, we not doing that.
No, it's no. Like I said, take whatever that guy says with a grain of salt. He was supposed to be Kevin Samuel's best friend, but allegedly he didn't show up to the funeral. Anyway, that's another point. But
Hey, look, I
y'all
wasn't there
y'all
either,
have a good
man.
evening. Y'all have a good evening. Well, you ain't his best friend though. Y'all folks have a good evening. You know what I mean? And I'll talk to y'all later, man. Y'all stay up.
All right, man. Shout out to you. Hey, Yella, what's going on, man? I don't know. I don't know how much you've heard of the conversation. What you got to say on it?
I've been around for most of it. You just my bad. Just pick a spot and drop me in. Shit. Well,
What do you have to say? Okay, let's just start off from the top. What do you have to say about the black community being dissipated in 40 years by
we can,
breeding? Not just being gone, but basically through breeding.
yeah, that's what I was. That's the idea I was getting. So he talking about it being done through breeding. Like we just, I mean, far be it from me as somebody who, what I'm saying, got some type of mixed race in me, you know what I'm saying? But for the most part, I'm 75% black. So, you know what I'm saying? I roll with that. And I don't think that's gonna change because black folks is fucking. I'm sorry. I don't know what he heard. I don't know what he thought was happening out here. But black folks are fucking and we fucking each other a lot.
A
So
lot. That's what I was saying. I'm like, yo, like, what kind of snake oil are you selling that? Like, we gonna get so far down the line that black folks is just gonna be like, oh, I want that. I'm like, nah, bro.
That's
yeah,
true. I mean, they claim that all the black women got all these kids by all these black men. So how's that possible?
That is crazy. Hold on. I got some. Okay, Jack. Hey, Jack of the Spades, could you just flash your camera real quick? You don't have to show up on the panel. I just want to make sure you've never been up on the panel. I gave May a chance, but All right, we're gonna have to cut this if he flashed some booty. What's going on, Jack? Jack, say something. Jack. Jack of Spades. Jack Spade. Okay. I'll put you in the back, man. All right, go ahead.
no, and I'll say it like this. All that is just kind of like words of like fear. And you know what I'm saying? Kind of like putting hesitation into the people that listen to him.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Trying to fearmonger this idea that black people ain't gonna be. I mean, like, what was his whole thing? Is he saying this because black women don't want black men, or black men don't want
The
black
black community is in such disarray, and black women control the black community. That was another point. I'm like, how you gonna tell somebody that they control what you are a part of? Like, nah, ain't no female ever told me shit.
Uh,
I get it. I get the
I could,
premise that they're trying to
yeah,
come with, but it's like, nah.
yeah,
What,
I can agree
what
with that
weak
though.
men? Like, I'm
I can
sorry.
agree with
What
that.
weak set of men will actually say that they run? Like, I just give up. They run everything. I'm gone. It's
I
like,
wouldn't say. Now, I wouldn't say black women got control over our community. What I will
no.
say is this though: if it was a choice between a patriarchy and a matriarchy, we definitely are in a matriarchy.
I still that's still subjective to me because I think a lot of black men can have more control and more input than we're still making the most money. There's still black families that are actually like alive. Like we're not, we're not all just like all bad here, man.
Well,
Like
you know, I
we kind of over like almost color purple the black community to the point to where it's like, oh, like this weekend I had, me and my wife went to a bar. We ran into another black couple, and they was with another black couple. It's like, come on now, like it ain't that bad out here. I mean, but it's
No,
bad, but it ain't.
no, and I don't even want it to. And that's what I'm saying. And and this is why I say okay. And this is why I say it kind of sucks having people like that talk
Yeah.
because you kind of you there's things to be said about a lot of what he said, right?
Yes.
A lot of the stuff that you hear, like you said earlier, is rooted in something.
Yeah, it is rooted definitely.
It had to grow from the seed somewhere, right? So when Yella say, I view the black community as a man, I don't necessarily have to be that thing. But let's not get it twisted. Black mama ruled the whole community, bro. Black mama ruled the community. She was the single mom or whether she was the one who made the final decision in the home. You know what I'm saying? Black mama ruled our community, bro. Whether for good or bad and different, right? You know what I'm saying?
I still think that's subjective. I agree with you to disagree, but I think that's subjective.
Right, and I mean, and right, and right, and it can be subjective because, and I just look at it like this: we all have reverence for our mother.
Yes.
We all, as black folks, we all have reverence for our mother. Respect the child, but we all have reverence for our mother.
I just thought now.
No, yeah,
And knowing
yeah,
that, I include my family, probably mama, but I will only be mama.
mm-hmm.
I understand that, but now I'm starting to understand what like my grandpa Henry was about, what my
Right.
father was about. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's. I don't want to get down that rabbit hole, but yeah, it's
No,
you
the
know,
community. The community is in such disarray that
no, that's completely false.
yeah, the
But
community is in such disarray that we need to actually make a black male exodus out of this country to other countries and start either importing or staying there and creating a new breed or a new culture or a new race.
I think that one of the things that we got to look at is in order for you to sell something, you have to create propaganda around it. You have to create a narrative and you have to market that narrative. And even
Yes.
if it is a white supremacist narrative that you can flip a little bit, you gotta really, really make it like, give statistics, give pictures, give proof, give evidence, and you give people talking points and they become your clone and they'll start repeating what you're saying and carrying it on and repeating it and it'll just keep exponentially growing. I think that's kind of what's
And
happening
I don't
here.
mean to, but I'm sorry, I'm a horrible cut offer. I just want to say this. I think it's crazy because a lot of times, especially in the black manosphere space, they'll say 56% of men do not have children. 56% of men are in the middle class, but the community is in disarray. But go ahead.
Absolutely. And so I think there's a narrative that's being built around all of this. And like I said before, we keep on talking about this black as if we're all the same. There's all this cookie cutter. There's this one type of black woman, one type of black family, one type of baby mama. It's not like that. And we really have so much diversity among black people. So even the conversation about it is really unfair. And as I said before, I am from a black middle class family, generationally, and I all of us grew up with a father in the home. Fathers who are still active in our lives as we're older adults who are advising still. And so, and not only that, helping the next generation. So you got people who are 3 and 4 generations of black men who are still involved, grandfathers still involved, and fathers who are involved. Those exist. And so what's developed out of that? Because what the brother said before was interesting. He said, how do black men leverage in America, right? They have
Hey,
to go
Jack.
out and abroad.
Hold on.
They
I'm
have.
sorry. I'm
Oh,
sorry
go
for
ahead.
cutting you off. Jack.
Yes, sir. I had to reboot.
Okay. Okay. All right. Go ahead, mate. Complete your statement.
Sure. So he said he made a very good point, brother. I think it's Hebron. He said that black men feel the need to go outside of the country in order for them to get leverage as men, and I think that is a shame. And I do, and I'm gonna take some responsibility on behalf of my sisters. I do think that we as black women have to understand that the average brother has lots of value because as sisters, we know what we're made of. We know that when we partner with a black man and we love and we respect him, that whatever he's not already, we can help him get there. And he can do the same for us. And that's the conversation that's not happening. It's not a conversation about how black men and black women can come together as equals, you know. And when I say equals, I mean nobody's richer than the other one, and the other one is poor, and all that type of stuff. Or one is really stupid, and the other one's highly educated. We can come together, both having a basic, you know, necessities, and we can build to the greatness that we want to be. That's the conversation that we're going to actually have if we're trying to help black people. Not telling black men to get a passport and go get some third world broad who's ready to sell her booty for $5. That's not the answer to helping the black family. So this man is selling a fantasy, and y'all gonna see as soon as he launches his full, come on brothers, I'm gonna show you the way, $5,000, $10,000 fee. I'm gonna hook you up with a more male order bride. That's where we going here. He has to sell this propaganda and this narrative that we are all broken and there's no hope for the black woman. Let me tell you something. He's right about leveraging, because I have a black man who, I don't use the term, but yeah, he's high value black man, and that's in a lot of spheres, including financial. But he has character and respect for self, you know. And I'm submissive. I'm a feminist and I'm a black woman and I'm educated. I got 4 degrees, but I submit to my husband because that's what my father taught me by growing up in the household that I grew up. If I take my rightful place beneath my husband's leadership, not a stump, not something to kick, but beneath his leadership, then I can be great and rise with him. And I think there's a lot of black women who understand that. So that's my thought.
Man, can I jump in real quick?
Okay. Hold on 1 second. A lot of brothers that will say that's all cap, and God, and I hate to say it,
Go
there are
for it.
women. There are women out here like this, y'all. Whether you like to believe it, I'm married to one. A lot of your favorite YouTubers who's peddle the smut that y'all like are married to them.
Mm-hmm.
So don't let them fool you, man.
What's
So
cap? Explain it, please. Like, what's cap?
Okay. If I can call where the cap is, I would say this. The cap is not necessarily where you coming from and what you're saying, because what you're saying and where you come from and how you operate is commendable. It's respectable. It's basically the exact opposite of what most black women want to hear and want to do. They don't want to hear nothing about no man being no leader. They definitely don't want to hear about submission. You say submission is like, to them it's like saying moist to some people. You know how some people can't handle the word moist? It's a word, but it triggers the hell out of them. Like a lot of what you said would make, and I'm definitely not finna do that with your age, but like, all right, I'm 35. So most women in my age range is not finna speak like that. They're not thinking like that. They're not thinking submission. They're not thinking, let me find them a leader. They are the leader. You know what I'm saying? They want to be the leader. They want to be in control, which is fine, but you can't be mad at the results. So kind of what I was saying is, and it's right. Like you made a point and you was like, the average man has a lot to offer. But at the same time, the brother who just left said that the man who make 50,000 ain't nothing. You know what I'm saying? He ain't nothing. That's
Right.
that's the aspect. That's the overarching aspect of the average black man, is that he ain't nothing. 50K ain't nothing in Chicago. It ain't nothing in New York. But you can move to the middle of the country somewhere and you can be cool off roughly 50K a year. You, your family, and your one kids. But the problem is with us, we want to live in abundance.
yeah, and I definitely agree with that sentiment because, like, you know, I was when 15 was 15, I was in 2000, right? Like we all fighting for $15 an hour. I was making 15 in 2000, and I thought I was good with my little half a room. I was renting a room in a household at 19 years old, and my wife or my girlfriend at the time, which was my wife, we recognized that okay, we're gonna move up from this. We're gonna build on top of this, and what a lot of men's sentiment is that women don't want that. They want the finished product, and I don't necessarily blame, but I understand the dynamics of the conversation. But like I said, if you are, a lot of men would also want the finished product too, and it's a two-way street. So I'm sorry if I'm just adding too much commentary, but Jack, what you got, man?
Good afternoon. Oh, good afternoon, Lord. I'm way past this. Good evening, everybody on the chat and in the panel. So this is my first time on your panel. I want to make 2 quick points, very quick. One was addressed into interracial dating. So interracial dating and mating, it is increasing nationwide, but it's something that's affecting all races and all ethnicities in the United States. As all of us go to different schools, colleges, universities, move across the United States to take on different jobs, move into higher, some people lower wage areas of the United States. We and our children end up intermingling in school, and majority of the time, kids and adults, they're going to be attracted to the group of people that they associate with the most. That's mostly the people in the neighborhood and those that's in the schools. I'm gonna end it on that one because I get too long-winded on that one. Next point is easy to focus on.
Hold on 1 second. Hold on. I don't want to get too far with that. So what you're saying is that it is a natural order thing. I do believe, yes. With proximity, you are going to get intermingling of cultures and races. So yeah, and yeah, as you can see in this as you can see in here, in this chart that I'm showing, is the fact of the matter is that all races do intermingle it. Like, shoot, Asian are 42% at the age of 40 and 50. 31%, 30 to 39, 20. They are higher than us. But the whole point of the conversation is that, do we see the dissipation of the Asian culture? Is Chinatown gone?
But neither ethnicity or race is going to breed themselves out.
That's the whole
you're
point.
Gonna have, it's a great scare tactic when you have the folks who make money off of scaring each other. Yeah, it works for that. But majority of the time, we date and mate with of like kind. Any ethnicity that's going to breed itself out, no. Will you have an increase of mixed race people? Multi-race people, someone of 3 or 4 or 5 ethnicities, yeah, it's going to happen. It's going to increase. That is. That's just the way. Just the way it is. Like I said, as we expand, like I said, jobs, education, residency, you got folks their income is going up. You got some folks their incomes are going down. So we end up, like I said, mixing and blending in particular areas.
And I think the only people who should be concerned or worried about their race ending would probably be white people, because they have the less dominant traits, like genetically. They're probably the ones who need to be actually worried if they're actually concerned about, their culture as well as their color going away. Black people are the least ones that need to concern themselves if we're talking about how one looks, or are we talking about culture? I don't know.
Oh, and I was going to touch on the thing about LeBron James' son. They live out in L.A. Los Angeles is the interracial mating and dating capital of the United States. Certain things that happen in L.A., it ain't going to happen in Chicago. It ain't going to happen in Dallas. So with him dating a young lady or taking her out to the prom, L.A. County, it is what it is out there. Had they still remained in Cleveland / Akron, Ohio, it might be different. Hell, if he was down in Miami, instead of the young lady being Caucasian, she may have been Hispanic.
Just to back up your point, because you spoke about interracial dating in regards to education. From this statistic, it looks like Asians of age are more than likely, or yeah, declining. Okay, so I'm trying to read this chart. 26%. I'm sorry. Let me go back to the chart to verify what I'm looking at. I don't want to give you guys a bad statistic.
I'm
But
betting
it's not
Asians are
so much.
married white.
It's not
Are
so much the
Asians married
education
white?
either, because as someone who graduated from an HBCU way back in the days, now a lot of the schools, the only reason why they keep their doors open is because they're bringing in non-blacks. So you get a Asian young lady, she's attractive in some folks' eyes. The likelihood of her leaving that HBCU, having dated a black guy, is increased, as opposed if she went to a school where the student body was predominantly non-black.
Okay, so just to verify, I'm looking at the chart of this. It looks like the black people are of yellow. It looks like the green are Hispanics. Percentage of age. I'm sorry if I'm, but this chart is to show that basically, as the education goes, it looks like more than likely there is going to be some factor of intermingling based on college experience and probably proximity. You're going to be introduced to a different world. So that I just wanted to pinpoint that point. I'm sorry if I jumbled that up, but go ahead, y'all.
No, but that is correct. Like I said, we like, I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. I'm down here in Atlanta, but I've lived in so many different places throughout the United States. You take men and women like myself who purposely move away from where they grew up at. If, like I said, increase in income, depending on their job, they may end up intermingling with people of not of their ethnicity, not of their race, not of their religion. And that is something that is happening throughout the whole United States. And it's not just like blacks, it's with whites, it's with Hispanics, Asians, and everybody else. We're kind of moving to the jobs and we're intermingling with different people.
All right. I have Edward Anderson in the building. I'm glad this guy came up here because we had a great discussion in regards to this subject, and he's very much of a data statistics guy. So what do you got on the subject, Ed? Ed, you're muted.
Sorry, my computer was freezing. What's up, everybody on the panel? Yeah, I just heard some of the stuff. I was jumping back and forth. I mean, I see the premise. You did say you was going to do a stream on it. So, I'm not, we discussed this on my channel. So, I mean, you have a right to your opinion on the Dennis Spurling thing, but I just wanted to talk about the conversation unless you have a specific question you asked me. Kind of like what I heard people asking, why do black men go abroad? I heard Kevin Samuels didn't support marriage, where Kevin Samuels definitely did. So that's kind of some of the things that I heard in some of the clips that I was jumping around to.
Okay, yeah, and we did definitely have a conversation on your panel. At the time, I wasn't readily available with a lot of facts and statistics, so I was, like I said, I was kind of running off of feelings more than anything, but I think I was closer to the stats than I felt that I was after I did some research. So after doing research, the fact that, remember, they were saying is that through interracial dating, the black community will not exist in 40 years. Statistically, that's impossible. Based on birth rates, based on even the percentage increase in generations, like I even said, okay, I'll give you the best case scenario, 3% rise per year.
Okay,
You're not going to get rid of the black community.
So I understand that that's not the point of what of what Dennis was saying. Now, now if people want to get real technical on his absolute points, I mean, he's an attorney, so he should, know better. People want to get litigious like that, that's fine. But the thing about it is, if you look at what does the black community look like in the next 40 years, in the next 50 years, and I would argue it looks like something more akin to what Brazil is, where you have the whites, the coloreds, aka people of color, and then you have folks that are at the bottom, whether it's by class, because there's gonna be a lot of white folks falling the fuck off on some serfdom type of shit, or you deal with black folks at however urban blacks, we'll call it that. And why do you think that's going that way? Because you're seeing a brain drain, and it's a lot of folks that are making decisions. Like disease do not think the same as the millennials, and millennials don't think the same as the Xers. You see this slide generationally. So that's basically what that was designed to say. It was designed to create a sense of urgency. And he's basically going back to what he was. He was more on the SYSBM side before he even got it with Kevin. Kevin's the one that convinced him that marriage was a thing and all that stuff could happen, because he found his wife in the mix, which is Kevin Samuel's group. Who is, by the way, like Afro Latina. So that's really not outside the confines of what he was already doing anyway. So, but he believed in Kevin's mission of having a real conversation that would hopefully spur a social contract change and spur it, ironically, more so towards what you were talking about. But what he saw with how Kevin was treated after the fact kind of pushed him back to like, nah, this ain't gonna happen. And then that's where his comments came up.
Okay, not to interrupt you, but I want to.
No, I'm done.
Before you got to the next point. Okay, this show that he did, these are not 5 or 6 years. Okay, they may be 7-year-olds, right? But this was 5 years ago. So, in my opinion, he's already accomplished the black family, and he's accomplished everything. Now he's retiring, and now he's peddling the smut.
What is the smut?
The smut is basically you go get you a Latino woman or get you somebody else and feel happy about yourself because I've already accomplished everything in life. I'm a lawyer. I'm successful. I have 2 cars. I'm good. I just want to have happiness now. Young man at 20 years old, go do that. And it's kind of unfair when you've already accomplished what.
Come on, man. Are we really gonna play this game? Dennis Spurling has gone through like divorces. He's gone through some really hellish shit. So I mean, you're not telling the full truth about his story.
Okay, what? So,
okay. I'm not here to I'm not Dennis Spurling's defense attorney.
What I'm saying is just the premise of the argument is that creating. Even he said he wanted. Listen. Even he said he wanted to have children that looked like him and his grandchildren to look like him and be a reflection of him.
Okay.
He's accomplished that, but now he's switching that over to say, hey, black men, go find something else that may not look like you.
Okay, so that's not what he's saying. Dennis is a big believer in intercultural dating. So that deal, even when he talks about Latinas, he's mainly talking about Afro Latinas. Particularly, he's not necessarily going for the white Latino. This is what he talked about. He's one of because he's Caribbean. He's of Caribbean descent himself, as well as being Ado. So he talks about expanding to the other parts of mainly the Western Hemisphere as far as expanding your choice. So when they look like him, understand looking like him and looking like you doesn't necessarily the same thing. Okay. So he's accomplished that. So again, the bigger point here is. Are you basically of the opinion that black men should only deal with black women no matter what they do because to keep the race going? Is that your opinion?
I don't think black men should be looking towards other races based on superficial ideologies of they treat you better.
Okay, so
but they're not other races. Let's
okay, hold on. Time out. That's my last point. My last point too is, and then I'll let you go. My last point is so basically we have a whole diaspora. Do you understand that or you don't agree with that?
Yeah, I get that.
Okay, so with that being said, even if you look at just the Western Hemisphere, there is a lot of black folks that are not ADOS. And let me be very clear here. I date ADOS black women. So I'm not on this F them all type of shit. my position has always been the only power that a man has in this environment is the power of choice. And with that power of choice, their job is to self-improve themselves to the point where they can put those numbers in their favor. And then part of that is also expanding out. Now, here's the thing. You got niggas that ain't never left their motherfucking city. And I'm from Chicago. So damn going overseas. How about dudes touch the Atlantic Ocean and the Pacific Ocean? I mean, I can apply this same thing domestically as well. It doesn't always have to be international. But anyway, I'll leave it at that. Right now.
That is a very good point. I'm glad. This is why I was texting everybody, and I didn't get the chance to email everybody. I didn't know how quick we was gonna get it, but you're on point. So Mey is actually has a very. Have you heard any of May's backstory?
No, all I heard from her, she said that Kevin Samuels was against marriage, but that's
okay.
fine.
Mey, would you like to kind of add to this conversation? Or at least rehash a small portion of what you were talking about earlier.
Sure. I have a unique perspective because I just kind of summarize what happened, which is basically I ended up buying a property in the Dominican Republic because I was put on by a friend how many black men travel to the Dominican Republic to engage with these happy, kiss ass women, if we can call them that. And I have had an opportunity over the last 10 years because of that property to observe black men in that environment. And it's really, really interesting. And I have some insights because of the women I've talked to who work there, I won't say work, they live there and they engage with these black men. And, I have come to realize that it's kind of fantasy making. Dennis Spurling and others on this passport stuff, they're doing a lot of fantasy making. And it's a little disturbing to me because I have a very realistic view of what's real and what isn't. I've seen black men go over there and they get all this extra crazy like love treatment, which I wish they could get in the United States too. And they're fooled by it, and they end up bringing the women here, and they don't realize that those women are just poor, and they're a cutthroat. Those women are after your money, and as soon as you don't have $5, they are done.
All right.
And I have a lot of stories, of stuff I've seen. The men will go away thinking that's their lady, and I'll see them same women on the streets with the next European, an old Canadian who's impotent, micro penis, and he's 80 years old and decrepit, and she's right there doing the same thing that she was just doing with that black man. And these women have rotations. They have sex tourists that come there and eat, and they are the fantasy to each of those men.
I'm very much aware of sex tourism. Okay, here's the thing. Okay, how am I gonna go about this? All right, so understand that I'm in the I was in the passport community that predates me being in the manosphere. So, and I've been in the manosphere for a long time. Here's the thing. Let me start off this way. Do you realize do you know the percentage of a I'm not trying to ask you questions to put you on trial here. Let me just go ahead and get
No,
to the
you
point.
good. Go ahead.
Black men, black women, you do realize just like how black men are slightly more married than black women by a couple of points, you do realize that black women have more passports than black men by a couple of points, right?
Absolutely. And do the same stuff.
Okay, so I have a concept called sexual politicking, and the law of sexual politicking dictates that a group, and by the way, men sexual politic with each other, I call that Highlander syndrome. So it's not just a gender thing. Race is sexually politic, but what it says is a person is always going to say what's in their best interest from a sexual point of view, meaning how to keep the men in. So I hear this all the time about dudes getting played. Black men are not just going to the DR. A lot of the dudes that go to DR half the damn time is from New York, which is partially why DR is fucked up, because they get the cheap flight routes to the DR. Mainly also because there's a strong Dominican Republic representation in Miami, obviously, but also in New York. Just like I'm from Chicago, there's a heavy Puerto Rican thing, so we get flights to Puerto Rico, although black men traveling to Chicago is not as much of a thing. So what you have is a lot of people getting flights and then they're getting sexual access. Now, if some dudes are goofy enough to bring people overseas and don't bring them to the United States and don't properly vet them, that's on them. Because white, and let's be clear here, white, and so I don't feel sorry for those dudes, because at the end of the day, you are supposed to be vetting women to be a wife. But it's not this dynamic, this overall dynamic that every female in the third world is just poor. And if you put them in an environment that where it's the United States, they're going to act just like black women have acted. So you might as well just stay with black women. That's not true. What's happening is you deal with dudes that I'm not saying what you're saying doesn't happen. But what I am saying is what you essentially deal with is dudes that for whatever reason have not dealt with femininity. So they're very vulnerable to that, which is kind of like where you were getting at. And that is something that happens. And then so when you hear people like me, I tell them very much so, this is what separates that. This is what separates this. But certain dudes are going to do goofy stuff. But to say that that's the overall thing that everybody's saying, I mean, we got folks, shout out to Al G's, did Frustrated, which talked more about Brazil, because even Charles Tyler, rest in peace, who had a whole group of 10,000 people, he was more anti-Dominican Republic anyway. So there's a couple of different countries here. DR is just the one that gets promoted because that's what people have easy access to. But even still, and I'll say this and I'm done, most black African-American men today, and even the last maybe 2-3 years, would have told you any dude is just getting a wife from the DR, unless you're really getting something from a solid family, a solid background, they would say that's not the business. If you sitting here having sex with a female on some sex tourism shit, and I've seen white dudes do this, by the way. I know women from the Philippines. Yeah, I've seen white dudes do this too and bring them over here. You are a fucking idiot. And that's very much talked about in the space. Another thing, if you fucking go down to Colombia throwing money around, you are a fucking idiot. And not only and then wonder why you get drugged up, you are an idiot. And that's something that's said over there too, because number two, you make it worse for other people going down there. So we're very much aware of the goofy niggas and the people and how African Americans need to be perceived. But the main thing I want to communicate is I believe that black men should earn black women. But I also believe black women should earn black men. You don't have an argument with most black men, including in the manosphere, that black men should earn black women, meaning you have to be on point. And if you don't hit a certain standard, if a black woman's treating you a certain type of way, well, you're not at a certain standard. But with women, and I'm not saying this is you, but we understand what the overall thing is. It's this idea that women don't have to meet a standard for a man. Men cannot make you meet that standard in the United States. We can't. We don't have the legal ability like other groups do. So the only thing we have is the fact that we can choose to do better. Now, for guys that don't want everybody to just go SYSBM and make a run to other races, this intercultural dating is, by the way, something black women can do too. Tasha K's done it. Paris talks about it. It's something that you could do to deal with what I call the genetic thing. By the way, didn't Nia Long just get she just has a fiance to the guy, the African guy that's the Celtics coach who just got to the NBA finals. They just got engaged. So, kudos to her. So there's women that interculturally date as well. There is nothing that I am saying that black men should be able to do that black women already have not done and celebrate doing. And I just wanted to make that point because a lot of times people make just a gender thing, and it's really not. Anyway,
I agree with everything that you said. And I think that's the question at the end of the day. How committed are we, or are we even committed to this idea that ADOS needs to be with ADOS? I think maybe we're past that. I think, like you said, Tasha K, even me, my first husband was an African. I think black women have been doing it. So yeah, you're right. Black men are not alone in looking beyond. And I think we have to really decide.
And by the way, black women have been doing the sex tourism thing too for a lot longer than black men. Black men just don't talk about it because either most of them don't know, and the ones that do don't really care because it's not really money in saying, "Oh, look at these black females going to Ghana and cabaret." All that's gonna do is bring up heartache because the women are gonna fight you, and the niggas are just gonna say you mad because you ain't getting pussy. There's no economics in that, so they don't. But and by the way, there was a good sister that wrote the book, and Dennis Spurling talked about this. the pursuit of happiness, like a black woman something, and that was chronicled. That was written by a black woman in the Duke University Press, and she was chronicling black women going to Jamaica in such heavy numbers. Yeah, so but see, people don't know this. So when people and don't even get me, I ain't even gonna get
those
started.
of us who travel know.
Yeah, and by the way, the travel community, the community I come from, is not necessarily passport bros. It's the community. It's the overall community with black people. To even have some black ADOS couples that have travel channels.
Yes.
But see, that part doesn't get brought into here. Everybody most of the travel community, the black travel community, is not necessarily on this, the gender shit. That's just the manospheres sector, and really they're doing that because a lot of black men black men have this aversion. Let's be very clear here. I don't even need to talk to the females about traveling. The type of shit that I have to deal with from other black men that for some reason are against black men traveling, and it has nothing to do with like what eBlack is talking about. It's just on some ego shit. It's really insane. You don't even have to get to the female talking about it because there's a lot of notable dudes in the black manosphere. I'll name them, and it's cool. Minister Jap. Minister Jap is not for it, and he is not necessarily like pro-black woman, but he is absolutely against dudes going overseas.
Well, let me ask you this question real quick. Do you think that it's fair the way, because I've watched a couple of videos recently that Dennis Spurling did. Do you think it's fair, or is he setting men up for simphood? Because he's selling like major fantasy, particularly about DR. Like all these women in the
specifically
pool.
Is he? Oh, you talk about the videos and stuff?
Yeah, the pool and how they're all like crawling over you and they just love you because they love you. He's not giving them a full vision that these women, for the most part, are for sale. And when you don't have enough money, they're gone to the next person.
So
do you
first
think he's
of all,
fair
if
to
you're
them? That's
broke,
my
you
question.
shouldn't be
Is he
traveling.
fair?
That's the first thing I'm gonna say. Traveling is not cheap. If you're broke, you shouldn't be traveling. And another thing is the sex tourism part is something that's very different too, because everybody is not doing that. And I'm not even saying that's what Dennis is doing. No, like it's almost okay. You gotta remember, Dennis makes rap songs.
But is he fair? Is he really educating these brothers about the reality is what I'm asking.
Yeah, he does. That's behind the scenes though. Like this is basically what you see. Because I'm a promoter of dudes. I do think dudes should put. Now I'm not about dudes just putting the fantasy shit. I'm dudes putting real footage out. Like, because one of the things I had to jump on a lot of dudes about is do not fucking come in these groups and put up Instagram models. I'm talking about of women that are here, but they may be of Latin descent. That happened years ago, and that's been fixed. But that happened years ago, and dudes were doing that. And I said, y'all need to cut that shit out. If that ain't a real picture of a real chick, don't put it up. Because for people that are not traveling, they need to get an accurate assessment of what it is. And I'm very big about telling the good, the bad, the ugly. What he is doing, I'm a marketer. What he is doing is a marketing thing. So that gets people interested. And then when they're interested, they get gamed up. They get gamed up on what to do, what not to do. And quite frankly, a lot of dudes are really not going over there in order to necessarily pay for females. I'm not saying that. I know that happens. I know that happens big. So I'm not trying to minimize that. But
he's got 3 women in the pool. You telling me that those are just regular good girls, everyday women in Dominican Republic?
I'm not saying that that's not, but at the same time is a lot of times it depends on what you're going there for. Let's be clear here. Just like how women are not going overseas in order necessarily to find a husband until they get into that mode, men are not going over there. A lot of this is about sexual experiences. And at the end, and I mean, at the end of the day, people want to play this more. People want to be moral now, where they try to say, "Well, men shouldn't be doing all of that." When at the end of the day, we know that women benefit from economic pursuit. Meaning, if a man is pursuing a woman, or men pursue women, there's an economic benefit to that, which is why women have this kind of interracial issue, as well as other issues, even amongst light skin, dark skin. You hear women talk about pretty privilege, all of that over there on the women's side of stuff, because they understand there's an economic value to that. So the thing about it is going overseas has arguably never been as big of a deal because black men have not been doing it. Even now, only 6% of black, I've estimated it's only 600,000 non-military ADOS black men that actually have a passport. It's very low. And of those, everybody is not traveling. So this is something that people are more so trying to get around, get in front of it.
Hey, Ed, 1 second. Jack, do you have something to say?
Yes, sir. It ties into the second point I wanted to get at, and that was it's easy to focus on the extreme of talking points, but the average America and average Black American is not operating in they're operating in less extreme ranges. Um, May mentioned being down in the DR or having visited in the DR. What you see down in the DR for anybody will skew their opinion or the ideology of what's actually going on in everyday regular Black America. Edward mentioned about in the military. I served in the military for just shy of 15 years. If I just said, well, based on what I saw in the military, the number of Black men that were married to non-Black women and the white men that was married to non-white women, taking that and trying to compare it to everyday America is not fair. That is something that's of the extreme. Same thing with what you see going on down in the DR, what you see going on in New York City, and what you, as I mentioned about Los Angeles being the mating and dating interracial capital of the United States. What you got to do is, yeah, you can mention what's going on in these areas here, but you have to take in consideration what's going on across the whole United States, across different social economic ranges also.
Yeah, and this is my point, Edward, is that when a
Okay,
guy,
so what if I said it's out of the alignment of that? That's my
no,
question.
what you said was perfectly in line to that, and I just want to add on to that. I want to actually say that the reason that I have an issue is that a guy from Arkansas, blackety black Arkansas, sees a video of Dennis Spurling and says, "Yeah, black women ain't nothing," when he lives in a town that's 80% black, and then he ingests that, and then he says, "Yeah, the first Latino woman I get, the first white girl I get, I'm gonna treat her like the queen." These are the messages
Well,
that
if that was that true, then we would have been already. Most of y'all would be looking like me, and if you already know, I'm light skinned, so you know that ain't true. You see the resistance we get, even amongst people that don't necessarily operate like how you saw. Okay, I'm gonna say this: one of the two most notable videos that Kevin Samuels did. One before he died, it was maybe a couple of like a month or 2 months ago, was when he was talking about should black men expand their options. He was asking the question. Now, you see all of them Negroes call in. Some of them were younger, some of them were older, and they had a consistent message to the point where Kevin had to literally stop the show and say, "You matter." Them niggas don't know nothing else. So this idea that they're gonna listen to some first, and I hate to say this because it really pisses me off that niggas are really saying this, but man, a lot of people, oh man, tell that Mexican to shut up. With Dennis. So a lot of people are not hearing that. First of all, Dennis's name is not absolute in these streets, number one, even in the space, because of what he said about street dudes. So a lot of dudes in this space are mad at him anyway. So he has this idea that he has no pushback, or the random person in Little Rock, Arkansas, which is broke as hell. By the way, one of the poorest places. That's up there with Alabama, Mississippi. And I'd argue that Alabama got more money than that zone. Honestly, the black folks there, this idea that they're going to just look at a video and then do that goes against how black people have moved. Now, what you really need to be worrying about is disease. But because disease were not socialized the same way the millennials. The millennials were socialized to see the girl next door black woman. If you look at, we have plenty of TV shows one-on-one. I mean, there's so many TV shows you grow up with UPN, a lot of stuff to show black people, black women, black girls. Shout out to Kyla Pratt. There's others, black, light skin, dark skin, all of that. And you had, even in the music, Monica was not a girl next door black woman, but they tried to put her in that box. Shout out to Brandy. You saw, these are the people that were promoted. Disease did not grow up with that. Disease grew up with Nicki Minaj. And that was the start. Then they started seeing all the people that are actually worse than Nicki Minaj. They were seeing only generally one version of black women, to the point where even women like Chloe Bailey is trying to fit the image more of a Cardi B, even though she doesn't come from that. So your problem is not Dennis. Your problem is the environment. Because when he was talking about the 40 years thing, he was talking about really disease and the alphas. So the millennials are not like some millennials are going to do what's in their best interest. and some extras are going to do that too. But it is what it is, man. But that's your real problem. So your problem is not YouTube. Your problem is how black women are being portrayed outside of YouTube. Everybody wants to blame YouTube because it's a soft target.
Yeah.
I believe I agree with brother Black TV, because I think just even though you got people who can't afford it, like you said, brother, you got to have money to travel. You can't even do it. But the fact that they can't do it, a lot of them who are watching can't do it, doesn't mean they won't take on the attitude. They won't take on that perspective. And that's my fear.
Okay.
Hold on,
no,
hold on, because I want to add on to that. Yes, they will take on the attitude, and they will perpetuate it. The fact of the matter is, I don't know if you caught the early part where I said I recognize his talking point, and the fact that the whole the Buffalo guy was talking about the great reassignment. You know, where white folks are talking about because their population is actually, out of all the groups, going in the negative.
Black men are below black people are below replacement level as well, just not as bad. The only people above a replacement level is Hispanics.
No. Black people have improved. We've gone up from 11% to 12.
Well, the problem is the reason why we're under replacement level is because our women is getting a whole bunch of abortions. The white people are under replacement level for some interesting reasons, because the truth is the Europeans are actually a lot worse off than the white people in the United States. So they don't even have white people they can pull from. True. That's another reason why they're scared, because what it used to be is just imports of white folks, and then what they do to amp their number two is call Arabs white and call other groups white that they know goddamn ain't white, and so the census don't look good. Now they can't even do that no more, because that's starting to. Anyway, I could go into that. My point is, my point, the question to ask you is, what are black women doing? Because the only reason why this is a problem is because of the bar that black women, let's be clear here, in the let's fuck going overseas. In the United States, the only reason why you even have a threat like that is because black women have lowered the bar so much that a Latin chick, because Latin men don't play. A lot of Latin women will say that Latin men are like black, how it's like the same dynamic, but in reverse. But that's patriarchy, right? Not saying it's right, it's just whatever. But so Latin women look at dealing with a brother, and this is if they like how they look, is I can deal with a brother, give him half. I'm talking about in the United States. Damn, going overseas. So we're not dealing with the money issue. I can give him half of what I give that Latin dude, and that dude is going to be absolutely grateful. And then I'm getting a dude that may be 5'10", 6 foot, which is taller than generally Latins. And the dude is going to work hard for me. And Latin folks, now obviously this depends on what version we're dealing with. But that's the dynamic. And that's
that's the thing. That is an extreme overstatement on what's going on now. Yes. Okay.
Jack. Hold on.
Okay. No. I want you to look at these stats. Okay. I want you to understand that Hispanic black and black and white are like very minuscule in the degree of interracial marriage.
These are emerging things that we're taught again.
Okay, these are emerging things, but that's the whole thing. We're saying that there's going to be a great wave of mixies.
eBlack.
That's not happening.
Okay, eBlack.
So what I'm trying to say is that this is an overstatement. It is a miscalculation. This is a mischaracterization.
Let me tell you who you are right now. You're back in the 60s when they were talking. Hold on, when they were talking about that we're at 80% marriage rate, and let's say we drop down to under to 69. You're the guy that if somebody says this keeps on going, we're going to be at 33%. You're like, that's impossible. Guess where we're at right now? That's you. So we're talking about emerging things. It was a time where black men were being stepdad like a motherfucker. Like those stats don't account for the Z's. The Z's are only 24.
No. It counts because
they don't account for that.
Even the Z's. They even did a poll. The opening poll that I showed was that even the Z's see the black community and black identity as an important factor.
All right, man.
We're overstating this.
Believe what you want. I mean,
I'm not believing.
We're
it's all about.
it. You're on this. You're on this. If you say this fucking black wise tale bullshit. If you say it, you're gonna will it to existence. That's why black people don't deal with shit in the first place, because of that shit.
No, what I'm doing is I'm taking facts and statistics and research to say that, okay, the black community ain't going nowhere.
Then why worry about anything?
Okay, but the whole point is
what is the point? What is the point other than clout? I'm not saying you're clout chasing.
I'm not.
Dennis is gaining a hell of a lot of subs, and you could argue he's clout chasing with Kevin's death. I'm not, so let's put that, because he's benefited, right?
Yes.
What is the point in bringing? No, I'm just trying to be fair. What is the point in bringing? What is the point in even talking about? It's like me saying that what's the point? It's like me saying, what's the point?
Why do people talk about? Why do people talk about? Hold on one second. Hold on one second. Hold on. Why do people talk about Umar Johnson? What's the point of talking about him? What's the point of talking about people like Cynthia G and these non-factor people that don't really have anything to do with anything, as long as you're in your purpose? The whole point is we're trying to convey a message. I'm conveying a message that the black community ain't going anywhere.
Your point is you brought up this little black boy in Little Rock, fucking Arkansas, that would listen to Dennis Spurling and magically just be radicalized, because that's low-key what you're saying. Radicalizing and not wanting black women. Independent of what his on the ground experience has been with those black females, and all of a sudden turn into this magical. Do you understand how low IQ black men need to be? I mean, Jack, can you get in here real quick? You got experience in the military. Because the first people I heard the passport shit from was niggas from the military back in the day. Because those are the first dudes that actually had access to it because of the military and the nature of it. But my point is, you keep on talking. Basically, what you're saying is Dennis Spurling is radicalizing people. And my argument,
can you look at this real quick? Let's just take this real fast. Look at the 70s. The women's movement started in the 70s. What year are we now in? And look how much things have changed.
A lot earlier than that.
It doesn't take a long time.
A lot earlier. The women's movement, Soldier and the Truth and them go way back.
Well, no. I'm talking about the modern women's liberation movement, which for the most part took hold. For the most part,
you mean after they fucked us over with the Monahan shit, when the women went? You talk about when black women went with white women against black men.
1970s is what I'm speaking on. Yeah. My point is this. Let's just look in just between 1970s and 2000. That's 30 years. Look how much things changed. Look how much cultural movement happened. And it started with the spark, right? It started with the spark. A lot of it was Roe versus Wade, and a lot of equality in the household, in pay. Look how much things have changed. It almost seems to, in pop culture, have reversed traditional roles. Look at that in just 45, 50 years. So, I mean, you got to think about it. Sometimes there's just a spark, and that spark.
Yeah, but the question is, the argument. See, this is what you all are essentially telling me. Black women don't do shit, and so basically, the argument is all of these guys radicalizing these black men and black women. There's nothing wrong with black women. Black men are just there, and then they're getting on YouTube, being radicalized to the point where it's a genocidal threat, because that's what the argument's being presented.
Yes.
And yeah, okay. Thank you for okay. So I'm not just being extreme.
That part about black women not doing anything, I disagree with that.
Well, no, that's the argument that's being made. That like black men are just on YouTube, and then they just, because this is the shit Kerrison used to say. That
if there wasn't any truth to it, then black men wouldn't be easily led to be and persuaded.
Well, but this idea that black men are easily led, like black men are not fucking cattle.
Uh-oh.
I mean, but think of the language, like and I'm not even jumping on you. The eBlack said that.
No. The little
black boy in Little Rock, Arkansas, that he watches one YouTube. Do you know, like, honestly, there is just as many black men. Black men I respect. I'm not even going to bring up names. I'm talking about dudes, by the way, some dudes that don't even date black women. But black men that I respect, that really be on some, if you travel, you a bitch at. Nigga, we had somebody that said niggas were traveling to fuck underage girls in the States. Like Super Sly said that. Just so we got motherfuckers in the space. You just trying to have a conversation. We got motherfuckers that are outright throwing nuclear bombs. Black men that are in the space, not black men that cape for women. And by the way, Super Sly has a passport, and Super Sly was dealing with a Moroccan chick. Like back in the day. So my point is, there is a lot of black men that be on some counter. They doing it a lot harder. You just having a conversation. This ain't like most manosphere shit where we're on the same page and it's an echo chamber. Oh hell no. That's why you don't even hear dudes bring up the women and what the women say, because we got more than enough dealing with these niggas talking shit. Anyway.
No.
I think that we need to stop the war
hold on,
between men and
May. 1 second, May.
Sure.
Edward, you bring up a valid point. Maybe I am taking a stretch that maybe Dennis Spurling may be too much of an influence on people. However, I do want to say that these things are dangerous. When I hear them, I'm dangerous, but I also have a right to say, hey, I can make content about that. Is that fair?
Yeah, and I'm gonna say this. Hold on, I'm gonna say this because I gotta go. Unless somebody has a question for me, I'm gonna say this. I had there's a YouTuber that I respect that I listen to. He's like one of my top 3 YouTubers. Now I know that's not the dynamic between you and obviously Dennis, but this guy and this, he was married to a black woman. He has black kids, but he had a bad experience, so he's pretty much SYSBM. But anyway, he basically made a comment about how mass shooters are gonna grow. I'm not gonna say who it is, and it's not BGS. Like mass shooters are if it starts to happen like once per week, one of the factors that needs to be looked at is, and this is a black man. This is a black man. Factors is the manosphere. Now he was talking more overall manosphere, but the guys that he mentioned were not white. He mentioned a couple of guys, and I'm gonna go. They were not white, and they were black. Basically, I'm gonna leave that there. I made a video on it. Didn't put this dude's name in here. I'm just saying I did it. And he basically said something and did some who you are, this because he thought that I didn't have all the information. And what he forgets is I watch all his videos. I watch some videos at 2 times playback speed, and his stuff is mainly business. It's not like the gender shit, because his argument is that even though I'm not gonna go in there, because he don't date black women, which I still mostly date black women, but he's on, well, men just need to do more and blah 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 blah, that bullshit. The alpha your way through it, the end bullshit. And I said I'm gonna let it go. This is what I decided to do. So I'm saying that to say this. I understand you wanting to make a comment because somebody says something, and that goes against what your values is. The statistics don't match up the way you see them. I get that. And I'm not saying you don't have a right to say anything, because I've said something, and even though I'm going to let it go after I made the initial comment, because it gets to the point where it's one thing to make a video, but it's time to go beyond that bullshit. It's time to, like, I'm a marketer. That's what I mean. So it's really starting to put the stats where they need to be so people can see them. People like really get to the heart of this stuff. Damn the back and forth video bullshit. It's really time to start really building something and putting something behind that. And as far as black men traveling, at the end of the day, I'm all for black men traveling. I'm not for lying to black men, but you got, let's be clear here. Motherfuckers be lying to black men to keep their ass in the black community. And all I'm saying is black women have to do very little in order to actually change this. You want to eliminate the red pill? Black women have to do so little in order to really do that in the black sector. We got motherfuckers talking about harming post-birth abortion. We got crazy shit now. And I would say this, and I'm going to end with this. You got a lot of women coming up. Shay Sade, shout out to TJ. Even I Am Courtney, although I don't agree with everything she say, because she be on that, they just don't care about you bullshit too, but whatever. You have Chantel Simone. You have a lot of women, 80s, not 80s, coming up. And if you're somebody, you want to have the what do we need to do to stick together conversation, these are women that are going to be Pink Book Lessons, Crimson Cure. These are going to be good assets to that. Because they keep
Wait a minute. Hold on, bro. Did you say
May.
Chantel? Did you
Hold
say
on, May,
Chantel?
May,
Yes,
May.
I'm aware that Chantel is Jamaican.
That ain't my point. Hold up. We gotta. You said she is a good person to help establish the information. Is that
What
what you're
I'm
saying?
saying is the rhetoric that is being said. You see, because I can every there's a lot of women of growth of women having the conversation that women need to have.
Okay.
Yes, that's
Well,
one of the
I'm
channels. Look, man,
let me
you don't
let,
like
Hold
her,
on,
that's fine.
May. Hold on. I just because Edward said he was about to bounce, and if you didn't know, I am an hour and a half past my limit on content.
oh my God.
I'm sorry, but Edward, thank you for showing up, man. I really do
Yeah.
appreciate your input. You know how it is. You know, we always not gonna agree on everything, but we always respect each other's stuff. If you haven't already known about Edward Anderson's channel, Gail has linked his show or his channel in the chat. Please go subscribe to him. It feels weird saying that to a guy like him, but you know, he brings one of the fairest balances conversations that I hear. He can admit when he's wrong, and he can also debate things in a unique perspective without being disrespectful. I'm sorry, y'all. We gotta go.
No, peace out. Yeah.
We gotta go. Salute
All
to
right.
Edward. May,
Thank you.
thank you for showing up. Jack, I know we tried to get you in. There was a lot of people in the background. I'm sorry, man.
No problem. I keep it short.
All right, well,
But I want to know if May has a channel.
Oh gosh, if you have a channel, please let me know, and I'll put it in the description as soon as I get done, or as soon as she lets me know.
Because if possible, I wanted to, if she does live streams, I wanted to do a follow up with her about the gender roles if she has a channel.
Oh, okay. Oh, wait a second. I think this is Teapot Tina. She says no, I don't. So
Okay.
you know, do you have a channel yourself?
Yes, sir, but I don't do live streams.
Okay. Well, I can come back here. Yes, we'll set that up. Look, my channel, if you go back and look, I try to bring the most diverse groups. I take the hit. I don't give a fuck. Y'all can call me a simp, anything. I try to bring people together, and like I've always said from the start, you lower the volume, you can get commonality out of both parties, and maybe an agreement. But anyway, all right, Jack, let's get out of here, man.
All right, everybody have a great, what's tomorrow, Wednesday? Everybody have a great Wednesday. Be safe, be prosperous, and take care.
All right, take care, y'all. Peace.